Hey there! It's been a while. It's been a long while since I did the last video on the channel, and there's a good reason for that, because I came down with a severe sickness. But I'm happy to be back, and in the meantime, we got a lot of new cards to talk about, a lot of new awesome reverse cards, a lot of awesome new support cards for some budget archetypes. So in the next coming days, we're gonna play some catch up, as there's a lot to talk about. And in this video, we're gonna start off with some easy reveals, and we're gonna end off with a banger for me personally, as we got a brand new support for the marker archetype for 7Cs. We got the new weird ass recall strategy for Spike Brothers, which basically is just more Rising Nova support. But more importantly, we got Vowing Saber Reverse. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into these reveals. Stand up! Vanguard! Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update. And yes, I'm very late with these reveals, but as I said, I was out of commission for a while. So without any further ado, you've heard the intro, you've heard the whole spiel. Let's dive straight into these cards, and we're gonna start off with the new Grand Blue cards. As for Grand Blue, we got two brand new 7C support cards, which we already were anticipating because of the reveal that markers are gonna be reprinted in this set. And with that brings us to a brand new grade 2, which is 7C Swordsman Lord Night Haze. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is a brand new unit we've never seen before. And Night Haze has the effect, although when a unit is placed on the Vanguard circle or Rearguard circle, cost count to +1, look the 5 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 card with 7 seasons card name from among them, reveal it, and put it into your hand and discard the rest. So essentially this is a count to +1 search for 7 Cs that also incidentally mills, which honestly is really great because this is Skeleton Navigator for 7 Cs. On all fronts, that's really good, because the more you load up the drop zone, the more you can access your toolbox, which is really good for 7Cs, but even more so once we take a look at the brand new grade 3 support card. Overall, a great card that tutors for more cards. It gives you just raw card advantage while also setting up your whole toolbox. But then it also has the secondary effect, which we all seen on all the 7Cs cards, which is on Vanguard circle, Rearguard circle. When this unit attack hits, choose one of your Vanguard circle or Rearguard circle without any treasure markers and put a treasure marker on that circle. So great, it's a tutor, a searcher, a mill card. I think it's gonna be widespread play for the 7Cs archetype. But let's talk about the brand new grade 3, which changes up quite a lot for the deck, because we've got this grade 3 Grudgeful Spirit of the 7Cs Oguchi Voyage. And Oguchi Voyage has the effect, continues on Vanguard and Rearguard circle. During your turn, this unit gets power +3k for each card with 7 seasons card name in your drop and bind zone. So this is why the grade 2 milling 5 cards is very good, because not only allows you to access those cards more consistently, it also just empowers this guy to be a massive beater, which is very important for the 7C stack, because you're not going to attack with your back row boosting your front rows, as you want to attack with every single circle thanks to Captain Night Mist. So you want to make sure that every unit can hit on its own. And currently we only had Slash Shade, which could become a beater, but now we have this grade 3 also being able to become a sizable beater. And it also counting the bind zone is very nice, because that is synergized with the grade 0, I believe, Night Runner, that binds itself to resurrect cards from the drop zone. So nice synergy with that card as well. But then on top of that, it has a nice effect which allows you to turn those treasure markers in different type of resources, which is act on Vanguard and Rearguard circle once a turn, cost, remove a treasure marker, choose up to 2 grade 2 or less units with 7 seasons card names from your drop and call it to the Rearguard circle. This is also a very nice powerful skill for 7Cs, because 7Cs lack the issue that yes, you might have your treasure markers, but if you don't have the resource to flood the board, what's the point of being able to reset all your units or being able to attack with every unit if you don't have any meaningful attacks or units to even call into the board? This card being able to turn 1 treasure marker into 2 units is really good, because 1, it doesn't cost you countless soul less, so it doesn't constrain those resources, but more importantly, it allows you to be more aggressive on a more consistent base while also slamming down a gigantic beater on the board, which is really nice. And yes, losing 1 treasure marker if you already assembled 6 might sound bad. But at the same time, if you already have 6 and you can make sure that one of your attacks is gonna hit regardless, then why not turn one of those markers you're gonna generate for nothing into actual resources? That's actually a really decent skill. It can definitely come up. But then it also, of course, being a 7 Seas card, it has the generic effect. Auto Vanguard or Vanguard Circle. When a unit attack hits, choose one of your Vanguard Circle or Vanguard Circles without treasure markers and put a treasure marker on that circle. Again, this skill with the clarification can allow you to see what the value is of removing a treasure marker in order to gain more cards onto the field. Because if I remember correctly, and I can look it up because we know that Lord of the Seven Seas Night Mist is going to be reprinted for Grand Blue, his skill allows you to attack with all your rear guards with only 1 marker. So if you have 5 markers, you can still pressure with 6 attacks, and they need to guard every single attack if they want to make sure that you don't restand your units. That can be quite a tall ask if you have like multiple Grudgeful Spirits, Uguchi Voyages on the field, because those become quite sizable beaters. So yeah. Very nice card for Grand Blue. And of course, I already spoiled a little bit, but we know the reprints for Grand Blue right now, and it's gonna be Captain Night Mist himself, but we also see Slash Shade and of course the Treasure Marker, which are all going to be basically the main staple cards for the 7 Seas archetype. So yeah, 7 Seas looks pretty damn spicy. Maybe not top tier, but a heck of a lot better than they used to be. Now, another very interesting support card lineup, we've got the new Spike Brothers supports, and this paints a different type of playstyle for the deck, yet at the same time the same as we all have seen before. Because first off, we got a brand new grade 3 supporting card in the like of Skydiver. Yes, it's been a while and it's finally a long time coming, but Skydiver finally makes its debut in the V-Series. And this Skydiver has the effect, although when a unit is placed on the Vanguard Circle or Rearguard Circle, choose up to 2 normal units from your drop, put them on the bottom of your deck in any order, and this unit gets power plus 5k until the end of turn for each card put. So again, it's very similar to the original support wave of Spike Brothers in the V-Series, where on plays, it allows you to get power and shuffle back cards, like think of High Speed Brucky, Gyro Slingers, Maximum, Juggernaut Maximum, etc. It's literally in the same line of those cards. Because its second effect is, on a Rearguard Circle, at the beginning of your main phase, cost put this unit into your soul, search your deck for up to 1 Skydiver, call to the Rearguard Circle, and shuffle your deck. It's identically the same as those cards. It's at the beginning of your turn, it puts itself into soul, so you gain soul to recall the same copy, and on call, it gains power and shuffle back cards. In the previous support wave, like either they gain power or they shuffle back cards, this case, Skydiver gets both, which is pretty nice. And it definitely plays into the new Juggernaut Maximum, because yes, we got a brand new Juggernaut Maximum, because another support card for Spike Brothers is Juggernaut Maximum, which I think was originally a G-Guard that didn't make any sense to be a G-Guard in the first place. So yeah, they probably rectified that part because it doesn't make sense to this guards. Because Juggernaut Maximum has the following effect. On Vanguard Circle, at the beginning of each main phase, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, until the end of this turn, this unit gets continuous on Vanguard Circle. All of your units placed this turn gets power plus 5k and shield plus 5k. So this completely plays into the archetype that we just see with Skydiver and all the other cards like High Speed Brucky, Gyro Slinger, Juggernaut Maximum himself, that they recall himself, they get about a buttload of power, but now they get also an additional 5k power buff, making those attacks even bigger. This plays into that playstyle. And then the shield plus 5k is nice because keep in mind, this is during each main phase, also during your opponent's turn, and because this playstyle plays probably more grade 3s, because you have both Maximum, Juggernaut Maximum, and probably Skydiver, which means you have a surplus of cards with no shield value. To compensate for that a little bit, you get that extra shield value, which is nice to be a bit more defensive. Now, a very important thing to take away with this skill is that this does not interact with Rising Nova, because specifically the card needs to be on the Vanguard Circle before the beginning of the main phase to get this skill. Rising Nova can only start copying skills during the main phase, so you can never proc this skill if you're copying Juggernaut Maximum skills with Rising Nova. That's very important, so you don't get that benefit. This doesn't apply to the second effect, because the second effect of Juggernaut Maximum is auto Vanguard Circle once a turn. At the end of battle, this unit attacked. If 4 or more of your rearguards were placed this turn, cost Soul Blast free, choose a column, and stand all of your units in that column. If you stand this unit gets drive -1 until the end of turn. At the end of the turn, put all of your rearguards on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this effect completely plays into the main gimmick that I've been already painting. That you have this card that call himself every turn, and it goes to the soul to recall another copy at the beginning of your turn. So you get soul, but more importantly, it's very easy to fulfill the condition of calling 4 units. Because they call themselves, so you don't have to invest more resources to activate this skill. That's very nice for the playstyle itself. The only weird thing is that if you resend the Vanguard, you lose all your units, thus it has a negative synergy with all the cards that need to stay on the board in order to go to soul and recall themselves, which is a bit weird, but there might be a specific interaction with that doesn't really matter all too much. Now, being able to reset a column is nice because you might think to yourself that's one extra additional attack. But not in Spike Brothers, because Spike Brothers has back row attackers. So essentially you can generate 2 extra attacks of this, which is great. But being able to reset your Vanguard is also very nice, especially in the fact that you don't discard cards. So yes, the second attack is 1 drive check, but that's an extra free card that you generate while also generating more attacks. So that's already really good. But now we get to the Rising Nova part, and that's where things start to get a bit spicy and maybe a bit dangerous. Because yes, Rising Nova can copy this effect. And yes, there's a back row attacker that can attack from the back row behind the Vanguard circle. So you can resend the Vanguard while getting 2 attacks out of it. But more importantly, Rising Nova can copy a certain grade 3 skill, and I believe it's like Spiking Cyclone, that has an effect that on attack can resend a rearguard. Which isn't once per turn. So you can activate that skill twice because your Vanguard can attack twice. So essentially you can attack with the rearguard, attack with the rearguard, attack with the back row unit, then attack with the Vanguard, which then allows you to resend the Vanguard, resend the back row attacker, resend the rearguard, then attack with the back row attacker, attack with this rearguard, attack with your Vanguard for the second time, and then resend the rearguard for the second time and attack with that rearguard for like 8 attacks. That almost sounded like a rhyme. I don't know how that happened, but yes, that's a playstyle, or that's a combo you can do with Spike Brothers for essentially 2 counterblast and 3 soul. The soul shouldn't be too much of an issue because the Rising Nova deck has already been playing with, what's it called, like Bull Spike, which already uses a lot of soul to move markers around. Yes, you can do that in this build, but the free soul allows you to like extend multiple extra attacks, including a second Vanguard attack, which is probably worth it. So yes, Rising Nova can look very dangerous with the new Juggernaut Maximum. Now, will it be the next big thing? Maybe, I don't know. Like Juggernaut Maximum, its own deck looks very neat. Probably not as strong and as effective as the Rising Nova variant, but what do you thought? But who would have thought? Like Rising Nova is an insane card that they have to work around to not break the clan, like they did with another very a specific card that breaks the clan. Also, in terms of reprints, yes, you might already have a hunch. Juggernaut Maximum gets reprinted. Not Juggernaut Maximum, just a singular one. With those 2 clans out of the way, now we get to the very spicy part. The one that I've been anticipating for the longest while, and once this card got revealed, like I think a week or 2 weeks almost ago, like you can imagine how excited I was about this one, and I've been screaming that this card would be coming because it was very obvious, and that's of course Eradicator Vowing Saber Dragon Reverse. And oh boy, this thing is everything I could have dreamed for and more, because Vowing Saber Dragon has the following effects. First off, it has act on the Vanguard circle once per turn cost, counter +1, and lock a rearguard. Your opponent chooses a card from each from their hand, rearguard and drop, and bind them. Yeah, it's essentially a mini Stunverse effect in a V card, which mind you can interact with Stunverse because you can Stunverse in premium and then go into this card, then do this on top of Stunverse. This is probably one of the strongest self-lock skills we've seen so far, because this is almost no cost for the value you generate off of it. But on top of that, it also has the same effect that we saw on the original Vowing Sword, which makes sense because we have Auto Vanguard Circle. When your opponent's normal unit is bound other than from their deck during your turn, your opponent searches their deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as the bound card, binds it, and shuffle their deck. You choose one of your units and it gets power plus 5k until the end of turn. If your opponent did not bind the card, it gets power plus 10k instead of plus 5. Which honestly is nice because it still synergizes with the same thing we did before with the original one. And that means this is a nice include that doesn't outcompete with the other one. Because both Vowing Sword Dragons have the same main skill that interacts with the premium aspect of Stunverse, which is great. But then on top of that, they went above and beyond with this card because it has another effect which is insane. As it has Auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks, if you have one or more cards in your soul or on your rearguard circle with Vowing in their card names, which essentially can be himself or the original one, cost Counter plus 1 and Soul plus 1, choose one of your rearguards and stand it, which is fine. If your damage zone has 4 or more cards, stand all of your rearguards, which is chef kiss amazing. As in standard, this is already pretty good because it accelerates a lot. Like the combination of its second skill that allows you to gain power is great because unlike the original one, I believe the original one is a lot harder to bind stuff and you were more dependent on other skills. This one already can use the act ability to lock a rearguard to force your opponent to at least bind like 3 cards, which then can proc its first effect to already bind more cards or put a lot more power on the board, which then allows you to use that power because you can restand it. Like, all these 3 skills work wonders in together. Like, the original one was a bit more dependent on other skills, or you need to write like a copy of himself, or you need to write Descendant on top of it. Like, it was very dependent. This card does everything on its own, which is really, really good. Yes, you need to have like a Vowing on the rearguard circle in your soul, but the fact that it also applies on the rearguard circle makes it very easy to fulfill on your very first grade free turn. Because keep in mind, this does not specify anything about that your opponent needs to be grade 3. Yes, you need to have 4 damage to get the full value, but if your opponent's still at grade 2, just resending one rearguard is probably enough to do a lot of damage. Now in premium, this is a whole nother cakewalk, because in premium, of course, we have Stunverse. So you can combine this with Stunverse to get a buttload of power on the board, but now you can immediately do something with the power, because in premium you were dependent of having rearguards that can restand, but every single rearguard that restands costs a counterblast, so your opponent could damage deny you a little bit. Not with this card anymore, because one counterblast is more than enough to wreak havoc on your opponent. Yes, you need 4 damage, which means your opponent can definitely play around it by putting you on 3, but certain decks cannot easily do that. Like, there are definitely decks that can put this thing in check, which is nice. Like, this shouldn't reign supreme on its own and run rampant. This is fine. But it's very nice to have something like this. And being able to Stunverse your opponent and then use the act ability on top of that to just bind through the roof. It's just, as an Narukami player, it just warms my heart to see this, and it makes me very happy, and I cannot wait to try this out in premium. This looks really fun, and I know some players and some people do not look forward to this. Orange? I'm coming for you. Also, on top of that, we also know the final reprint, which is of course another Eradicator card, but this is very nice because we've got Eradicator Dragon and Dragonic Descendant as a reprint, which works wonders in combination with Eradicator Vowing Sword Saber Dragon, because keep in mind, Descendant copies all the skills, which also includes the on-attack restand your entire board. Yes, that's a thing. Keep it in mind. I don't know how well this interacts with premium, because if you ride on top of it, does it retain the skills if you go into Stunverse and then go out? Does your Dragonic Descendant remember the skill that he copies? I don't know, but in free premium, you can ride this on top, and it gets all the restand for days. Imagine being able to restand your board twice. That's a Nova Grappler's wet dream, and I right there. But with that said, that's about everything that I have today. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of these reveals, because honestly, a lot of very interesting stuff. We got new Rising Nova support, or a new build for Spike Brothers. We got pretty good support for 7 Seas, which makes this budget deck a lot more playable. But more importantly, it's very clear that Bushiroad loves Narukami, and I love that Bushiroad loves Narukami. Now, if only they would do the same for Gear Chronicle. We got good support, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't mind this level of good support. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, as there's a lot to talk over. And yes, expect a lot more videos right on the horizon, right after this one, because we got a lot more cards to tackle, as we probably have like 4 or 5 videos worth of cards content to go over. So expect this whole week to be chock full of these videos, as we need to catch up before we're gonna be way behind everything. But with that said, I will give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters over patreon.com/insider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/insider and become a Patreon today. But with that said, I've been Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!